Good evening, everyone. Hi. Hi, Ludovico. So let me just, this music, by the way, is called, let me make sure that I've got you on loud. These things that you should check, before you start. This music is called Baghdad Nights, so it's very appropriate for our readings. Good evening, everybody. I hope you have been having a lovely day and a lovely evening so far. I'm going to crack straight on this evening. I've got this, you can't smell it, but I've got this beautiful incense burning up here from my little incense. It's actually a candle, but I always put some incense in there. And my lights are going, my candles are going in, so it's very lovely. I'm going to crack straight on tonight. You might want to take a stiff drink because this isn't the usual case of debauchery and murder and anything else in tonight's story. So yes, let's see what's happening. Okay, enjoy, everybody. Now, when it was the full 60th night, Shahrazad said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that King Shah Khan bade them write for the merchant a mandate, after paying him his monies, and they wrote a perpetual patent, exempting him from the tithe upon his merchandise, and forbidding any in his government to molest him, and lastly bestowed on him a splendid dress of honour. Then all about them he retired, and none remained save the Kazi and the merchant, whereupon said he to the judges, I wish you to hear such discourse from this damsel as may prove her knowledge and accomplishments in all claimed for her by this trader, that we ascertain the truth of his assertions. They answered, there is no evil in that. And he commanded the curtain to be let down between him and those with him, and the maiden and those with her. And the women about the damsel behind the curtains began to wish her joy, and kiss her hands and feet. And when they learned that she was become the king's wife, then they came round her, and took off her dresses, easing her of the weight of her clothes, and began to look upon her beauty and loveliness. Presently, the wives of the emirs and wazirs heard that King Shah Khan had brought a handmaiden unmatched for her beauty and learning and philosophy and account-keeping, and versed in all branches of knowledge. That he had paid for her 320,000 dinars, and that he had set her free and had written a marriage contract with her, and had summoned the 4 Kazis to make trial of her, how she would answer all their questions and hold disputation with them. So they asked leave of their husbands, and repaired to the palace wherein was Nuzhat al-Zaman. When they came into her, they found the eunuchs standing before her. And as soon as she saw the wives of the emirs and wazirs and grandees of the realm coming to call upon her, she rose to them on her feet and met them with curtsy, her handmaiden standing behind her, and she received them, saying, Ye be welcome. The while she smiled in their faces, so as to win their hearts, and she promised them all manner of good, and seated them in their proper stations, as if she had been brought up with them. So all wondered at her beauty and loveliness, and said to one another, This damsel is none other than a queen, the daughters of a king. Then they sat down, magnifying her worth, and said to her, O our lady, This our city is illumined by thee, and our country and abode and birthplace and reign are honoured by thy presence. The kingdom indeed is thy kingdom, and the palace is thy palace, and we all are thy handmaids. 50, by Allah. So do not shut us out from the favours and from the sight of thy beauty. And she thanked them for this. All this while, the curtains were let down between Nuzhat al-Zaman and the women with her. On the one side, and King Sharkan and the 4 Qazis and the merchants seated by him on the other. Presently, King Sharkan called to her and said, O Queen, the glory of thine age, this merchant have described thee as being learned and accomplished, and he claimeth that thou art skilled in all branches of knowledge, even to astrology. So let us hear something of all this he hath mentioned, and favour us with a short discourse on such subjects. She replied, saying, O King, to hear is to obey. The first subject whereof I will treat are the art of government and the duties of kings, and what behoveth governors of commandments according to religious law, and what is incumbent on them in respect of satisfactory speech and manners. Know then, O King, that all men's works tend either to religious or to laical life. For none attaineth to religion save through this world, because it is the best road to futurely. Now, the works of this world are not ordered save by the doings of its people, and men's doings are divided into 4 divisions: government, commerce, husbandry, and craftsmanship. Now government requireth perfect administration with just and true judgment, for government is the pivot of the edifice of the world, which world is the road to the futurity. Since Allah Almighty hath made the world for his servants as viaticum to the traveller for the attainment of his goal, and it befitteth each man that he receive of each such measure as shall bring him to Allah, and that he follow not therein his own mind and his individual lust. If folk would take of worldly goods with justice and equity, all cause of contention would be cut off. But they take thereof with violence, and after their own desires, and their persistence therein giveth rise to countenance and contentions. So they have need of the Sultan, that he do justice between them, and order their affairs. And if the king restrain not his folk from one another, the strong will drive the weak to the wall. Hence, others here saith, religion and kingship be twins. Religion is a hidden treasure, and the king is its keeper. And the divine ordinances and men's intelligence point out that it behoveth the people to adopt a sultan who shall withhold oppressor from oppressed, and do the weak justice against the strong, and restrain the violence of the proud and the rebels against rule. For know, O king, that according to the measure of sultans' good morals, even so will be the time, as saith the apostle Allah, on whom be peace and salvation. There be 2 classes who, if they be good, the people will be good, and if they be bad, the people will be bad. Even the ulema and the emirs. And it is said by certain sage, there be 3 kinds of kings: the king of the faith, the king who protecteth things to which reverence is due, and the king of his own lusts. The king of the faith obliges his subjects to follow their faith, and it behoveth he to be the most faithful, for it is by him that they take pattern in the things of the faith, and it becometh the folk to obey him, in whatso he commandeth according to divine ordinance. But he shall hold the discontented in the same esteem as the contented, because of submission to the decrees of destiny. As for the king who protecteth things to be reverenced, he upholdeth the things of the faith and of the world, and compelleth his folk to follow the divine law, and to preserve the rights of humanity. And it fitteth him to unite pen and sword. For whoso declineth from which pen hath written, his feet slip, and the king shall rectify his errors with a sharp sword, and dispread his justice all over mankind. As for the king of his own lusts, he hath no religion, but the following his desire, and, as he feareth not the wrath of his Lord who set him on the throne, so his kingdom inclineth to deposition, and the end of his pride is in the house of perdition. And sages say, the king hath need of many people, but the people hath need of but one king. Wherefore it beseemeth that he be well acquainted with their natures, and that he reduce their discord to concord, that with his justice he encompass them all, and with his bountless overwhelm them all. And know, O king, that Ardashir, styled Jamar Shadid, or the live coal, third of the kings of Persia, conquered the whole world and divided it into 4 divisions, and for this purpose gat for himself 4 seal rings, 1 for each division. The first seal ring was that of the one sea, and the police of prohibition. The first seal was that of the sea and the police of prohibition, and on it was written alternatives. The second was the seal of tribute and of the receipt of monies, and on it was written building up. The third was the seal of the provisioning department, and on it was written plenty. The fourth was the seal of the oppressed, and on it was written justice. And their usages remained valid in Persia until the revelation of Al-Islam. Churros also wrote his son, who was with the army, "Be not thou too open-minded with thy troops, or they will be too rich to need thee." And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. And ladies and gents, it is only 10 o'clock. I am going to read another chapter for you, which is very much like the current one. I'm going to have a little slurp. This, by the way, is not vodka or anything. It's just a little bit of wine. For those who have just joined, good evening. We are now, when it was the 61st night. Shahrazad said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Chosroes wrote his son, Be not thou too open-handed with thy troops, or they will be too rich to need thee, nor be thou niggardly with them, or they will murmur against thee. Give thy giving deliberately, and confer thy favours advisedly. Open the high hand to them in times of success, and stint them not in times of distress. There is a legend that a desert Arab came once to the Caliph al-Mansur and said, "Starve thy dog, and he shall follow thee." When the Caliph heard his words, he was enraged with the Arab, but bin al-Bas of Tus said to him, "I fear that if some other than thou should show him a scone, the dog would follow him and leave thee alone." Thereupon the Caliph al-Mansur's wrath subsided, and he knew that the wild Arab had intended no offence and ordered him a present. "And know, O king, that Abd al-Malik bin Marwan wrote to his brother Abd al-Aziz when he dispatched him to Egypt as follows: Pay heed to thy secretaries and thy chamberlains. For the secretaries will acquaint thee with the established matters, and the chamberlains with matters of official ceremony, whilst thine expenditure will make thy troops known to thee." Omar bin al-Khattab, whom Allah accept, when engaging a servant, was in the habit of conditioning him with 4 conditions. The first, that he should not ride the baggage beasts. The second, that he should not wear fine clothes. The third, that he should not eat of the spoil. And the fourth, that he should not put off praying till after the proper period. It is said that there is no wealth more profitable than understanding, and there is no understanding like common sense and prudence, and there is no prudence like piety, that there is no means of drawing near to God like good morals, nor measure like good breeding, nor traffic like good works, and no profit like earning the divine favour, that there is no temperance like standing within the limits of law, no science like the meditation, no worship like obeying the divine commands, no faith like modesty, no calculation like self-abasement, and no honour like knowledge. So guard the head and what it containeth, and the belly and what it compriseth, and think of death and doom ere it ariseth. Saith Ali, whose face Allah honour, beware of the wickedness of women, and be on thy guard against them. Consult them not in aught, but grudge not complaisance to them, lest they agreed for intrigue. And eke, quoth he, whoso leaveth the paths of moderation, his wits become perplexed, and there be rules for this which we will mention, if it be Allah's will. And Omar, whom Allah accept, saith, there are 3 kinds of women. Firstly, the true believing, heaven-fearing, loveful and fruitful, who helpeth her mate against fate, not helping fate against her mate. Secondly, she who loveth her children, but no more. And lastly, she who is a shackle Allah setteth on the neck of whom he will. Men be also 3. The wise, when he exerciseth his own judgment, the wiser, when befalleth somewhat and acteth, and whereof his knoweth not the issue. I'm sorry, I have to start this bit again. Men be also three, the wise, whom he exerciseth his own judgment. The wiser, when befalleth somewhat whereof he knoweth not the issue, seeketh folk of good counsel, and acteth by their advice. And the unwise irresolute, ignoring the right way, nor bending, nor heeding those who would guide him straight. Justice is indispensable in all things. Even slave girls have need of justice, and men quote as an instance highway robbers who live by violenting mankind. For did they not deal equitably among themselves and observe justice in dividing their booty, their order would fall to pieces. In short, for the rest, the prince of noble qualities is beneficence come benevolence. And how excellent is the saying of the poet, by open hand and Ruth the youth rose to his tribe's command, go and do likewise, for the same were easy task to thee. And quoth another, in ruth and mildness surety lies, and mercy wins respect, and truth is best asylum for the man of soothfast soul. Whoso for wealth of gold would win and wear the world's good word, on glory's course must ever be the first to gain the goal. And Nusrat al-Zaman discoursed upon the policy of kings till the bystanders said, never have we seen one reason of rule and government like this damsel. Haply she will let us hear some discourse upon subject other than this. When she heard their words and understood them, she said, as for the chapter of good words and good breeding, it is wide of comprehension, being a compend of things perfect. Now, it so happened that one day there came to the Caliph Ma'awiyah, one of his companions, who mentioned the people of Iraq and the goodness of their wit, and the Caliph's wife, Maysun, mother of Yazid, heard his words. So when he was gone, she said to the Caliph, O Prince of the Faithful, I would thou let some of the people of Iraq come in and talk to thee, that I may hear their discourse. Therein Muawiyah said to his attendants, see who is at the door. And they answered, the Banu Tamim. Let them come in, said he. So they came in, and with them Al-Anaf, son of Kays. Then quoth Muawiyah, enter, Abu Bakr, and drew a curtain between himself and herself. And then he said to Al-Anaf, O son of the sea, draw near, and tell me what counsel thou hast for me. Quoth Al-Anaf, part thy hair, and trim thy mustachio, and pare thy nails, and pluck thine armpits, and shave thy pubes, and ever use the toothstick, because therein be 72 virtues. And make the ghusl and complete ablution on Friday, and as an explanation for all between the Fridays. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in, for those who did. Yeah, it was a very different reading this evening. There was an awful lot of words of faith and prophecy and value and morals in tonight's reading, and not too much of a story ultimately. I want to wish you a very good evening. It is already, there you go, almost 10:15 Central European time. The divine law, cause and effect. Exactly, David, that is so very true. Thank you very much for listening in. We will be back again on Tuesday, and Saman will be reading for you then. I wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones. And be happy. God bless. Many salams. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for listening in.